go to? Oh, they go there, and then inform the school that, hey, we were here last night. If little Johnny is such and such, or little Sue is feeling a certain way, or something happens, it could be because of A. And we're missing that part. These are the things that we, if you want to we want to create resiliency in this community with trauma, we need to have that. We need to have that communication between law enforcement. And I know we don't want cops in our lives. Who wants to deal with the police? Law enforcement already oversteps their value, defund the police, whatever it's going to be. It's just, but then again, how do I find out what's going on with my kids? How do you find out with your kids in your classroom or your casework, your caseload? If you don't know that the cops are at the house and the cops aren't communicating with the social workers and the educators and stuff like that, well, then we don't understand why Johnny's being Johnny Little son of a gun. You know what I mean? We don't understand why he's using four-letter language in our classrooms and telling us to pound sand. And it's just another step. It's just another step of communication so that we can line it all up. Because then you're kind of got to try and understand, now you're going to understand why this kid is doing this in a class. And then maybe that's where we have those restorative circles. And that maybe that's something we create as like an aftercare after school. Creating these little groups for these kids that maybe they go see the school guidance counselor, and the guidance counselor, they tell them some stuff, and hey, well, John, we got this thing called restorative circle, and A, B, C, we can get you a ride home after school, or we got an extra bus that we hold back to take these kids home, whatever it's going to be. But we have to be accommodating. And I know it's taxpayer dollars, more money, and not paying bus driver. It's just going to be what it's going to be. But we have to find the resources. We have to find ways to do this. These are important catalysts that are going to help us get to to get to being better at what we do. Because as we know, it takes a village to raise a child. And we're all the villagers. It all starts and begins and ends with us. We're the adults. Am I talking too fast? I have a tendency to do that for Cleveland. It's where I wrote it here. It takes a village, literally. We can put this all on the educators, school staff, policymakers. We as a collective whole have to suit up, show up, and be involved in building these thriving, resilient communities. We truly do. Think about this. What if this? I was thinking about this. This is great. What if you had a trauma-informed barber? A safe space where kids in the neighborhood could, or you come to get your haircut, you can talk. Another place I was thinking is workplaces. Everybody could use that. We need some of that in our work environments as well. We have people that, who knows if the husband and wife are on the tilt at the house, or the kids are driving you crazy, and you have no place to talk about your trauma as well. We all need that. Everybody thinks that it's a trauma just doesn't begin when only the kids, because we're adults, we're tough, we can get through it all. I like to think that. I'm, immortal and unstoppable and infallible, but it's impossible to think that because I'm an idiot on most days. I'm just a guy trying to be a good father, a good husband, a hard worker at my job, a good son. These are just the things I'm trying to do. And then carry a message of hope in my recovery groups, in society, and I have friends that my buddy Matt down in South Carolina where I live. He calls me all the time. He's like, "Nick, you're the most spiritual guy I know." And I'm like, "Oh, blue. You want to build the ego up? Go ahead. I'll wait." And he's just like, he's like, "You have so much wisdom." I've shared I told him one thing that one time I said, "Hey, you want to live a happy life?" I said, "There's two things. Just remember this: your business, and then there's none of your effing business. If you don't worry about what everybody else is doing, your life will be okay. But if you're too busy comparing your outsides to everybody else's insides and outsides, we're worried about everybody else's business, and I'm not worried about my own. And I got to remember to water my own grass before I try to water somebody else's." You know what I mean? And so I try to share anecdotes with guys that I love in my recovery community, my work community, because it just doesn't stop at recovery. I got the reason I chose to get clean and to join Narcotics Anonymous was because I wanted a better life than the one I was living. Because, granted, being a radio personality for 20 years, sex, drugs, and rock and roll was a lot of But when your wife's leaving you, and you're like, oh my God, I should probably go to rehab, you make changes. Because my whole world was about to fall apart. It was about to end. And so I had to do corrective actions. You know, I had to make amends. That's the other thing, man. Teaching, showing, demonstrating to our children when we do stuff and owning it, making amends. Man, I've said some stuff. And I immediately feel guilty now. You know, and even back then, years ago, it's, you know, that's what I love about the 10th step. You know, continue to make amends, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. You know, I currently try to correct my amends immediately in the amends process. If I say something, come outside of my neck to my wife about something, and I'd be like, oh, Jesus, what did you just do? You know, sorry. Because again, my wife, let me tell you something, she had PTSD from my alcoholism and my drug addiction. Because I'd black out, I would say things. She has a video that I've never seen, and she's like, if you ever decide to drink again, I will show you this video before you think you want to pick it up. And she said, it's the most horrendous video, and I've never seen this monster in you ever before. And she didn't leave me. She left for self-preservation. But the reason she left for self-preservation, I mean, we were supposed to get divorced, and we didn't. Because she said, I could only hope that I would see the man that I knew was in there one more time. I knew there was a good man in there, I just didn't know if I was ever going to see him again. And that took a lot of courage, and my father even said to me, he goes, you don't deserve your wife. Some stuff you've done, you don't deserve her. He said, but if she takes you back, she'll be the strongest woman I know. After through infidelity, alcoholism, verbal abuse, never put my hands on my wife, ever. But I said stupid stuff that I absolutely regret. And I don't even know what it was. She does. She won't tell me. But I know that it's awful. And that's why I live every day. You know, it's just, I'm making a living amends every day by staying clean for her. And she told me today before I got on the stage, she said, I'm so proud of you. And I don't want to cry, because I do want to cry, but you know. She just said, you're the most inspirational man that I've ever met. She said, the way you captivate people, and you have the innate ability to motivate men in recovery to go on to lead successful and better lives than the lives they had lived in the past. And you give them the directions and show them the way to get there. And I have sponsees, guys that are leveling up that my one that I have now, he was afraid to tell his parents that he was going to move in with his girlfriend after he left the facility. And I said, hold on a second, you're 30 years old. You want to tell me why you're afraid to tell your parents that you're going to move in with your girlfriend when you leave the lantern? You're like, oh man, they're just gonna, say this and say that. And it's like, damn, you're 30, you're not 18. You're still not living on their house, and you need to create a life for yourself. We have to start to build the block. We have to put the bricks down. We need to pave the way to our next life, our next generation of life, our next evolution of where we're going. And so I blew courage into his heart. And that kid now is on his way to being a six-figure salesman. He's working for a software company in Ohio, and he started out in the call center, and I said, Dan, you can do better than the call center. Talk to somebody about sales. You got to get into sales. I kept telling him, I said, you can make all the money in sales. And now he's on his way. He's on his way. He's already in the sales force. He's got 6 months of training, and he's going to be off selling software. God bless him. But the biggest thing I wanted to talk about was the stuff I want to recognize in Maryland, like Promise Heights. It's pretty cool, man. It's play space for support in regard to healthcare, housing, food access, and trauma-informed schools. And man, talk about, I'm going to take you back to my childhood. More trauma. I just remember this one. I didn't even write this one down. It just triggered right now as soon as I said food access. I can remember at 12, my dad and mom got divorced. I was 12 years old. So my mom was raising us me and my three sisters, and my one sister was Down syndrome, and she had had her first open heart surgery at age 2, and she died at age 6. But I remember my mom would have my oldest sibling below me, my sister Shannon, who was 14 months younger than me, watch the kids, and my mom and I, at midnight, we used to go to a grocery store that was open 24/7, and where she would take her food stamps, because she was afraid to shop during the day because she didn't want the neighbors to see her. So that shame, the shame that comes with that, you probably know people or have met people that have had that hardship. Good people, almost cursed, I was going to say the F word. Good people that are working and doing their best they can as a single mom, as a single father. I got a friend down in Florida who's a single father raising 4 kids because his girlfriend, fiance, was a meth addict. And he's raising 4 kids in a 3-bedroom apartment. Father, has no money. He's got to put them all in daycare. One goes to school. I've seen it. And he has to get assistance from the city of Cape Coral or the state of Florida. A little more assistance because his job just only covers enough. Then they go to tell him he makes too much money. Sorry, you make too much. We can't help. Wow. You make too much money. We can't help. Oh, I make $50,000 a year. My rent's $1,400 a month. My car payment is this. And then I got to pay for daycare $1,000 a month. And this, that, and the other. By the time I get all my bills, I got nothing. You can't help me out with an EBT card so I can just at least feed my kids? This is the world we live in. This is what we're going through. You want to talk about trauma? That's traumatic. That's adult trauma. He's traumatized because he doesn't always going to get his next meal for his kids. And then the embarrassment of the mother, single mother who doesn't have the money to pay for stuff in line at Walmart or the grocery store, embarrassed to break out the food stamps or whatever. To think how they are.